Kepler College is one of the oldest, reputable astrology schools in North America. We have one of the most comprehensive, award-winning educational programs with more than 60 faculty members offering live online instruction year-round. Get ready to celebrate 25 years of quality astrological education with us. Kepler College teaches a wide range of astrological techniques, history, philosophies, and disciplines for all levels, from those who are curious seekers to dedicated students and seasoned practitioners. Our instructors possess outstanding astrological skills and wisdom, from fresh, innovative voices to established leaders in astrology. Many of our diverse faculty have worked in the field for decades. When you enroll in Kepler College, you join a strong international community of peers and future colleagues. Our program provides a strong foundation for professional practice, postgraduate study, or self-understanding. After studying with Kepler College, many of our students evolve from learners to leaders, establishing their practice and making meaningful contributions to the astrological community. Chart your course in astrology today with Kepler College.
Hello, I'm Ralph McIntyre, one of the instructors at Kepler College in the Astro Mapping program. I teach the Geodetic map class, and we're going to talk about transits from the perspective of the geodetic map. And so geodetic systems takes the astrological degree and maps it to the planet via the lat-long system. So if you think a planet at a particular degree of astrology, like Aries, 0 degrees Aries, is mapped to 0 degrees longitude and then goes around the world like that. And this is what I go into in my class. I teach how to understand it, how to use this map. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the transits for the month of August from the perspective of geodetic transits. And so this is August 2025. So if you want to follow along, if you go to geodeticmap.com, you can use this free tool that I have created for people to look at what's going on in the world from the perspective of geodetic map. And so if you think about the transits in the skies, you look at the transits in the skies to help you understand what's going on with your life. And so this is actually taking those same transits and putting them into particular areas on the planet. So this first map we're looking at is the world on August 1st. And we're going to dive in. We're going to look at the United States. We're going to look at Europe. And we're going to kind of just look at some of the things that are moving. And I'm going to explain some ways in which you can actually find when different planets are going to be at your particular location with this tool. And this can be very helpful for planning events, understanding what kind of energy. I like to use it a lot. It helps me kind of understand the mood that I'm going to be in. I also use it a lot when I'm wanting to plan events. And so this is all stuff that I go into in my class. Highly recommend checking it out. We're just finishing up one. I will have another one probably either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So go to Kepler College. Stay tuned for when the next class is. All right, so we're going to look at the United States first. And so you'll see the color-coded of the planets lines are up here at the top of the map. You can also hover over the top to see what sign and everything is and get a better understanding of what's going on. This tool will actually also show you the least and most aspected planet for any particular day. And so the first thing I want to talk about is Mercury. We got Mercury sitting over here on the west coast of the United States. Currently it's retrograde, so that means it's going to be moving backwards. Most of the time all the planet lines will move eastward, but when they go retrograde they will actually move westward. And so if you look at this particular area, this Mercury is going to be coming back across Northern California, back across Oregon and Washington, up until about the 10th of the month when it goes direct again. And so this is kind of the shadow area of Mercury right here. So this is a good time to potentially take on projects that you've been needing to kind of get back to or finish up, or kind of unspoken things that need to kind of come back in and be dealt with. It's not necessarily a good time to start new projects. So anything you would consider doing in Mercury retrograde, this particular area of the planet is under an extra influence of Mercury. We also got the sun line sitting here. As the sun moves across in Leo, it's going to be moving eastward across the country. And so this is a good opportunity for you to use this energy. You can figure out what exactly day this sun will be showing up on your particular location. So like right now, the Mercury is sitting there on San Francisco retrograde. And so this is a particularly good time for the people in San Francisco to use this energy. And you yourself can figure out when these planet lines hint your location and utilize it to your advantage. That's one of the beautiful things about the geodetic system, is that it does not require birth time. And so it's really good for looking at studying things, past events, or predicting future events. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on in Europe from this perspective. You can also see a lot of times when I see an event in the world, I'll look at it from a geodetic perspective, and very often there is a geodetic signature to that event. And so, like with any prediction, you have to be somewhat careful, because just because there's potential energy, and that's what these lines show you is potential energy, doesn't mean that always there's going to be an activity that's, in line with that potential energy. So it's like, just because the potential's there doesn't mean it's always going to happen. But a lot of times, if there is potential and it does happen, it'll show up in this map. So by understanding this, you can watch when this sun line comes across the western part of the United States. And so we'll look at this is the first of the month, and then let me pull up the end of the month. And so you can see that Mercury is kind of moving across, the sun's moving across. So sometime in between the beginning of the month, the sun here kind of going from San Francisco all the way over to Kansas, beginning in Texas. So all this area, New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, all of this, at some point in between the first of the month and the end of the month, you're going to have that sun line come across. The same with Mercury is going to be coming across. And you'll notice at the end of the month, we start to get this Venus energy will start coming in. So that's one of the first things that I would really highly recommend checking this out. And you'll also notice the moon is going to start moving across. The moon is the one that moves the fastest. Now, the slow-moving planets will stay in the same area. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll notice that I've been talking about this Uranus Pluto sitting over here. Now, Uranus just moved into Gemini. And so that's a significant change right here. So it's going to be kind of moving into Gemini, going through this area. It'll be sitting here for quite a while because it's a slow-moving planet. And so from the Midwest and East Coast, we can start to see we got this Mars line. We got the the Neptune-Saturn line is going right through the Midwest, Wisconsin, Illinois, Mississippi, Alabama area. We also have this Venus line that's going to be moving relatively quickly. So the first part of the month, this Venus is going to kind of go across the East Coast. We've been following this Jupiter line. It's going to be moving across. Right now, it's just getting ready to hit Washington, D.C. And so again, you can go to geodeticmap.com and use this tool. So one of the things that's a little idiosyncratic about it is that you enter the date here, but this is the UTC date, and then it displays as Pacific Standard Time. And so you might have to do some conversion on that. So often you'll have to go the day before the day you want to look at. But if you play with it, it'll make sense to you. And this is still kind of a prototype tool I've been working on for a while, and I'm kind of adding more features as time permits. So if you're living in the United States, this Mars line is going to be coming across. Mars is in Virgo, into Virgo, and then it's going to move into Libra by the end of the month. So now we can look at Europe. And again, we got this Mercury energy. We got this right through France. We got the Neptune-Saturn energy. We got Pluto's just getting ready to come in through Portugal and Spain. It'll be traveling through. So we can look to see where this stuff goes. So you can see how the Jupiter has moved through Spain across in that month. So if you're somewhere in Spain, you can utilize this Jupiter energy. Figure out what day exactly it's on your particular location and utilize that energy accordingly. Let me pull up the right map. Okay. I got too many maps up there. So Mars, again, we got that Mars in the UK sitting here, and then it will travel throughout most of France, most of Germany, all this area here. Mars is going to be moving through. We got Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn are going to be sitting here. So you can look at that Mars is going to be conjuncting this Pluto, the Neptune, Saturn. So finding out those days, and very likely this is often where you'll find some world events will happen. And so when the Uranus line was going through Iran, it was one of the times that there was some bombing from Israel. And so, like I say, just because the energy's there doesn't mean it always happens, but often you'll find some things. So we got the Mercury retrograde. Again, this area right in through here, Eastern Europe, Poland. Mercury will be retrograde. You're in the shadow right there. The sun's going to be moving through, going through Ukraine, moving on across Europe. And so by understanding what's going on with the planet lines, knowing when it's going to hit your particular location, I find it really helpful because you'll understand some of the emotional aspects that might be happening. It's a very powerful tool to use for kind of planning things, using that energy to plan. It's like, for instance, if knowing that Mercury retrograde is over this area, it's a good time to rethink some of the things that you've been avoiding. Go back to, finish up, kind of rehash some of those things. So anything that Mercury retrograde, understanding that this Mars and Jupiter is going to be coming through. Are you utilizing that Mars in a way that's good for you? Or are you letting that Mars, watching your temper, watching your propensity to get into arguments or fights, rather than letting that be the way Mars is manifested, taking action, initiating things, starting things. When Mars comes across your particular location, depending on what you're doing, it's a great time to initiate, And we got Mars in Virgo, and so you can see where this is aspecting your planets or your charts, and also see where it's aspecting your location. So by understanding this, you can see what's going on. So we go back to the end of the month, you'll see the Jupiter, we see all this move. The Pluto just kind of sits there. The Mars has moved a little bit. Mercury has moved quite a bit. The Venus line has come in. It moves relatively quickly. Sun's getting ready to come across for next month. So by utilizing this tool, you'll find that it can be very powerful. And this is what I go over in detail. We really kind of geek out. I'm a hands-on teacher, so we work with your own personal maps. We also work on event maps, but we really dive into the nuances of also using this to enhance your other astromapping tools. I also like it for anytime you have a no birth time situation. So with all the other astromapping tools, you cannot use them unless you have a birth time, but Geodetic is the only one that you don't need a birth time. So you can do this for friends and families, events, parents, or if you don't have an accurate birth time, the Geodetic map can be very powerful. So there is an event happening at the beginning of September in upstate New York, Niagara Falls. Kepler's having their symposium. And so I've done a couple maps that I wanted to just kind of share with everyone. And I will put a link in the description. There will also be a link in my library, map library, where you'll be able to get a hold of this map. But this is one of my full astrocartography maps. And so we can kind of understand what's going on from an astrocartography perspective for this event. And so you can do event maps. And so this is actually set up for the opening ceremony. So one of the first things I like to do is I like to zoom in to the area I want to look. And so you can use this because if you understand, it's like if you're going to this in person or if you're going to listen to it online, you can use it from a perspective of remote activation. There's a lot of ways in which this information can be very powerful. So we'll just kind of zoom in to where that hotel is. Then we go up here and click the set distance circle. Zoom out. And this tells you the orb of influence. Okay, so this largest circle is 700 miles. It's good for the natal lines. And so whenever I'm looking at any particular location, I always click on the natal lines. And one of the nice things is to having all of these lines on one map, it's really easy to kind of understand all the different subtle influences that are going on. So interestingly enough, we got some Jupiter, we got Mars, and we got Pluto, all natal lines, Mars in particular. There's going to be a lot of Mars energy for this particular event. And so this can be important because a lot of times, us astrologers, we have been known to have healthy egos. I mean, of course not me. I don't know about you guys probably. You guys probably all have your egos completely in check. I have a Mars-Moon conjunction, so I have been known to be a little opinionated or heated. And so with all this Mars energy, it's wise to realize this so that you understand. And so the other thing you can do is you can look at the geodetic line. And so again, we have more Mars energy coming in. We got a Mars descendant on from the geodetic perspective, and we also got the Mars ascendant from the natal perspective. So for this particular event, we have quite a bit of Mars energy. Now, these other lines that come outside of the orb of influence don't affect us as much. The local space, because I did this for this actual location, isn't going to be very helpful in the event here. I have another tool. If you go to localspacemap.com, it's a free tool I highly recommend. I'm going to show you that one here in a second. But you can use the local space depending on where you're at because you'll understand the influences. I'm going to show you that here in a second. Let me just clear this one out. And we'll clear this one out as well. And so the geodetic line is this second outer circle, 250 miles. So the only geodetic line that's affecting that conference is this Mars line. This Jupiter, the Saturn, Neptune over here is not affecting it. You know, but from the local, from the natal line perspective, that's this outer line. So we got Jupiter, we got Mars, we got Pluto. And that Jupiter's going to be super powerful, that Mars, Jupiter midheaven, So it's like going to have a lot of nurturing philosophy going on. That Pluto transformational, that Mars is, it's a good time to potentially make new contacts, make new friends, use that inertia, face your fears, kind of get out there, be a part of the community, express yourself, use that Mars in healthy ways, avoid conflicts, talk to the people who want to hear you. Okay, so let's just look quickly from a local space perspective. I'm going to lose these circles, and then we'll just click on the local space. So now you can look at this local space, and depending on where you are, so like for me, I'm here in San Diego County. I'm like right on this Uranus line. Northern California is the Mars line, comes through here. Oregon is that Neptune, Saturn. We got the sun energy, Mercury energy up in Seattle and Vancouver. And so depending on where you are in the world, this is the local space energy of this. And so you may decide to utilize this in ways that might benefit you. Okay? So now this is the local space from the event or the natal location. So this other tool that I'm going to show you here real quick, if you go to localspacemap.com, you can actually get your own free one. This is a free service that I offer. And so this is a slightly different system than the compass system, but this is actually the event local space, but it's actually able to put it exactly on the event itself. You can move this around so you can actually look at where this is in the hotel and then set this up in the center of the room, and you'll know what energy you're sitting on in the room. I find this super powerful, when I'm interacting with people at the event. You can use this event local space, or you can do your own local space and use this. That's what this tool is really designed for, is to be able to use your own local space to do your house, do anywhere you are. It's very simple to use. You basically can clear it, click anywhere on the map, it'll set the local space, and you can zoom way in, Google Maps, move anywhere on the planet. I find this tool super powerful. All right, I hope you have enjoyed this transit talk. I'm trying to do this once a month from a geodetic perspective. We have this event, so I spent a little extra time on that. It's going to be at the beginning of next month. I'll probably do a little there. But if you go to Kepler College, look at the astromapping program. I'm teaching the geodetic class. Highly recommend it. It's a very powerful technique. You can use it in all sorts of different ways. And once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and have a spectacular day. I'll have all the links to the stuff I used in the description. Thank you.